Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's just finished AFC Wimbledon 4, West Ham United 2. West Ham are out of the FA Cup in the fourth round. We normally start by discussing highlights from the start. We're going to do this a little bit back to front for this one. Tom, first of all, how are you feeling right now?
Mate, I don't know how to feel. I'm in a bit of shock, I think, to be honest with you. Just a total state of shock because I didn't expect that. Whilst you can't, it's one of them. You'd expect a Premier League side to beat a team bottom of League One. No doubt about it. And I was so full of confidence. I thought things were different, as we've said before. We've said time and time again, we wish we'd get a decent draw in the Cups because we've had some hard draws in recent years and we've been a bit unlucky as far as that's been concerned. But the draw was on our side today and we couldn't have asked for a better draw. And I just don't know what's happened. We're getting to it a bit later, but I'm not happy with the lineup and stuff like that. But I'm assuming you're going to ask me stuff like that, so I won't go into detail about it. But yeah, as far as the actual game's concerned, I just don't know where it's gone wrong. Just shocking.
Charlie, it finished 5 minutes ago. What's your feelings?
That was if we had less people than we are right now. And even so, I'm still angrier than I've been at a West Ham performance in a long, long time. That was a horrendous. And we should say this now, and I'll say it now. Wimbledon deserve it. Wimbledon played better than us going forwards, but they weren't that good defensively, and we should have scored more than that against a team who didn't look that confident at the back. That's how plainly bad we were. We were terrible.
We just played the team that was rock bottom of League One, who should have no confidence. We gave them confidence from the first minute. As soon as they got a sniff, they just grew and grew in confidence. We looked like the team bottom of the league going into that game for some strange reason. We were awful. That should have been our most important game of the season. And the players were just not up from the word go. And the worst thing is, when we do this show, sometimes even when we get beat, you can only pick out 2 or 3 players that had a bad game. Actually, you can pick out all the squad, bar 2 or 3 players tonight. We were terrible. We just got beat by a Poundland Sam Allardyce in the dugout. That's who we just got beat by. Wally Downs is a cheap version of Allardyce, and they just scored 4 against us. This Wimbledon side cost £53,000. That starting 11, 53 grand. Martin Noble gets paid more in a week than what that Wimbledon side just cost to put out there. It's ridiculous. We're all sitting here discussing £43 million transfers of Maxi Gomez, wanting £45 million for Marko Navich. We just got beat by a side that cost £53,000 to put it into context. It's embarrassing tonight. Those players should be embarrassed. And I don't want to say our season's over, but it sort of feels like that. Now what? We're going to compete with Wolves and Leicester to finish in the top 10. That's all we're going to play for the rest of the season. It's just the FA Cup was supposed to be what the fans held on to for the whole season. This was what we were going to go for. This was our number 1 priority. It didn't look like it. From the starting whistle to the final whistle, we had a little glimmer of hope in the middle of the second half, which we'll get on to. But apart from that, pathetic. It was fucking terrible out there from the word go. But Tom, as we all just said, we started a bit crap. Hernandez hit the post through a deflection, then another deflection went in. This time it was 1-0 Wimbledon after 34 minutes. Reasonably neat play by Wimbledon on the edge of the box. The guy got half a yard, took a shot, hits Ogbonna, goes in. It happens. But 34 minutes in, they deserve to be winning 1-0.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I couldn't believe I don't know the stats, but the possession didn't look very good for us. They were the team that were dominating. I don't know what was going on in the middle of the park as far as we were concerned. We leave Declan Rice out for a game and it all goes to absolute shit in there. It was absolutely disgraceful. They were all over us at that point and they were completely deserving of that lead as they were deserving of the result in the end.
Charlie, we often joke about Ogbonna, Masuaku, Adrian. We often joke about how bad defensively they are, but they got shown up by Wimbledon in that first half hour.
Sorry, you cut out there. Could you say again?
The Wimbledon made our defence. The players that we take the piss out of as a joke sometimes, Masuaku and Ogbonna and Adrian, got shown up by the Wimbledon attack in the first half hour.
Massively so. And it wasn't even like it was just in the first half hour. It was even after that period, that glimmer of hope you said, when we stopped that period of pushing, they started mugging us off again. And I've defended Masuaku a lot because he is good going forward, but he's just good at dribbling. And he got mugged off consistently today, horrendously so. And again, they were good going forward, but they weren't so good that they should make us look like complete and utter fools. And that's what they did. Some of those goals today were utterly atrocious, completely and utterly atrocious, like a group of players who have never played before. And yet this is basically the back line that's been playing since most of December. So I don't understand how a team of players who have played together like that can look so completely and utterly clueless. And Wimbledon absolutely mugged us off.
Charlie said the words atrocious and clueless there. Charlie, it was 2-0 just before half-time, the 41st minute. What was Pedro Obiang doing except facing his own goal and walking into a suicidal position? But they capitalised on it, and he went through one-on-one. Wagstaff went through one-on-one. It's a pressure cooker environment he's in, if you like. He's in front of his home crowds. They're 1-0 up already, one-on-one, and he's got a long time, actually. I think sometimes strikers are better with instinct. When the ball falls, you just kick it. Actually, he's dribbling. He's got a good few seconds to think about what he wants to do. He's watching the keeper, but he does fantastically well. He keeps his cool, keeps his composure, slots away 2-0. But what the fuck was Pedro Obiang doing, Charlie?
Yeah, I wish one of our strikers could have scored like that. That'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? Actually slotting it home instead of just blasting it randomly. I think we played the wrong formation. I think the formation was just wrong from the start, and he gets put in a position. He gets past the ball. He's facing the wrong way, and he's just getting pressured from the instant it happens. And every single thing Wimbledon did today, they pressured us instantly. Every time we got the ball, they harried us, whoever it was. And so Pedro Obiang gets the ball facing the wrong way, and when you're that calm on the ball, if it works out, it looks incredible. But he just looked completely and utterly useless. The guy pressurized him, who again, a League One player who couldn't have cost basically any money, walks up behind him and he crumbled. He absolutely crumbled like the rest of the team did. And after that, you're right. I think the forward player, I can't remember who it was who scored, deserves a huge amount. When you have that much time, it's so easy. And he didn't. He just looked at it, he picked it up, and he slotted it home brilliantly. And I think that is a huge credit to the mentality that they had going to us.
They went in 2-0 in the lead, deservedly so, Wimbledon. Tom Pellegrini made 3 changes at half-time. He whipped off 3 players he thought was playing crap and put on 3 other players. Fredericks, Anderson and Perez came on, Tom. But it just took 40 seconds. 40 seconds after the restart, it was in the back of our net again. It was 3-0. This time a cross comes in, gets flicked on. And again, it's a decent finish. Wagstaff again, he gets his toe on it, puts it in the corner, and 3-0 Wimbledon. You're starting to think, what the hell is going on here?
You are, and it's wakey time. That's what I'm thinking. They've come out, and I expected a reaction. We did end up getting a bit of a reaction, but not for the first 5 minutes of that half. They come out half asleep, and I'm sure. I'll tell you what. This is the embarrassing thing. They scored that many goals. I can't remember. Was this the one where Ogbonna was at fault because he's missed the header, and then Masuaku isn't on the cover? Yeah, that is just basic stuff. And in actual fact, all 4 goals came from pretty basic errors and things that we should be doing, with ease. That was just ridiculous. He jumped up for the header and he's missed it. I mean, that's unforgivable. I'm sorry. His positioning was all wrong and he's mistimed the header. And then, like I say, Masuaku's not following his man. And yeah, fair play to the Wimbledon lad. He's done brilliantly. And that's the theme of the night, isn't it?
In the 57th minute, West Ham fans thought, we might have a game on here. Corner come in, bobbled about the box back. And then there was Lucas Perez at the back post. Nice, hard, low-drilled finish. Good finish from Perez. But Charlie, in the 71st minute, this is where you thought it was really game on. Felipe Anderson, we were lacking a touch of quality. We were lacking a Premier League side touch of quality throughout the game, if you like. But Felipe Anderson delivered it when it mattered. Free kick, he souls the keeper out perfectly. The wall is a poor wall, but Anderson capitalises on it, and it's a wonderful free kick, and it's 3-2, and it's game on, Charlie.
And it's that thing where you say, if you didn't know anything about football and you just pick the players and you say, which one of those is the best player, they would have gone, it's Anderson just done. That was a brilliant piece of skill to get it up and over, but with that much power. It absolutely arrowed in, and the goalkeeper, although I don't think he had much to do for most of the night, he had no chance. The power he's hit that with is absolutely brilliant. I missing the entire game. Will have actually doing something of any quality, really. Well,
West Ham then had little bits and pieces throughout the rest of the game, but Tom, in the 88th minute, they really just put it to bed. And this time, there was a cross, a lovely ball into the back post, and Simic, the guy that came on, their free header at the back post, heads it in 4-2, and a deserved win for Wimbledon.
Oh, completely. And that's the embarrassing thing about it all, really. But that 4th goal, that's Adrian for me. and this is where I'll get to my little point, I think, about the lineup, if you don't mind, and that's we needed to play our first team. Our first 11 players needed to play today. This was the most important game of the season. You've said that time and time again, Gio, and I completely agree with you. We're not going to get relegated. We're not in a relegation battle. If we was in a relegation battle, I understand it, because staying in the Premier League is the most important thing. I do believe that. But we're not in any danger. So the next most important thing to do, football is all about winning things. And this was an opportunity tonight. So although I've not really ever slated Pellegrini, and I think he's done a great job, I think he's missed a trick tonight. And I think the likes of Declan Rice needed to be in that team. Like I say, the midfield fell apart without him. And yeah, the goalkeeper's a big one for me. I don't understand why you ever have a cup goalkeeper. I don't understand it. It puts yourself under pressure, because if we end up in a semi-final or a final, it puts the manager in a position where he feels like he has to stick with his cup goalkeeper because he's got into that, to that stage in the cup. You don't want that. You want your very best players on the park. And Fabianski is our best goalkeeper, and we know that now for a fact. If we didn't know it before tonight, we certainly do now, because he was suspect for, well, every time the ball went near him, he was suspect. And he was certainly suspect for that fourth goal. He's tried to come for it. He's not got there, and it's an easy header at the back post. So, yeah, just really pissed off with that, because although what I will say is Ryan Fredericks really impressed me. I thought he looked really good. So I wouldn't have perhaps minded him coming in, because Zabaleta, because of age, maybe he'd have needed a rest. But the likes of Declan Rice, I'm not having it. Teams who play European football play 3 games in a week on a regular basis, and they don't seem to have a problem. We didn't need to rest players today, and that's a disappointment. And Wimbledon have come away deserved winners, and we just looked an absolute shambles. I'm not sure if we was even up for that tonight, which is a disgrace.
I'm going to argue that in a second. But before they do their fourth goal, what amused me, this genuinely made me chuckle. The ball comes in, the boy gets a rehead at the back post, bang, and you see the replay, and you can see the other side of the pitch where you can see Masuaku's reaction. He sort of holds on to the post as the ball goes in. He genuinely looks shocked. He genuinely has a look on his face that goes, as if to say, like, oh no, how's he snuck in at the back post there? Arthur, mate, it's the 88th minute. You're not fucking bothered defending for the other 86. Why are you all of a sudden surprised there's someone creeping in behind you? You've not been watching your man the whole game. This isn't the only one that's surprised here. It's you. No one else is surprised. None of the fans are watching this are surprised it's your man that scored. You're the only one surprised. And I don't know why he is. He was utter crap. The first 20 minutes of that game, Masuaku was chasing shadows. Now, I don't know who Connolly is. He might be one of the best players in League One. And apologies if he is. But I'll tell you what, even if he is one of the best players in League One, Masuaku should still be handling him. That guy was selling Masuaku out every single time. He wasn't even doing anything extraordinary. He wasn't going up to him and doing flicks and tricks. He literally just ran at him, did a 1-2 with someone, and he was 5 yards in behind Masuaku. That was one of the worst performances I've seen from a West Ham player in a long, long time. He was just at 6s and 7s. He didn't know where to go. You talk about defensive discipline. It's not even that. It's just defensive common sense. The guy had fuck all of it out there tonight for some reason. It was embarrassing. That guy Connolly must be laughing his arse off. He must be thinking, can all left backs in League One be that crap, please? I bet you his next game for Wimbledon, he comes up against a better left back, and that's a League One game. Charlie, we've got beat. We're out the FA Cup. Tom's had a rant. I'm halfway through mine. I'm getting warmed up here. Where's it gone wrong for you?
Yeah, I'm a bit like Tom, where I haven't really had to dig out Pellegrini yet this season. But I think in the same way that you praise him when we do stuff right, I think we have to criticize him when he does stuff wrong. And the lineup today was wrong. You said it before in the preview that I'm not a big fan of 4-4-2. But if we're going to play it, can we at least have some dynamic front two, please? And not the 2 least dynamic front two we have. Now, I'm not saying anything about Hernandez particularly as a player, but he's one-dimensional. We know that. We bought him for that one dimension he has. Andy Carroll is just as one-dimensional. And if we put them up in, and we know, again, I've said this time and time again, we cannot break teams down who are happy to sit deep. We can't do it. We haven't been able to do it all seasons against anyone. We didn't do it against Wimbledon the first time we played him. We haven't done it again today. And then we went, do you know what we should do? Play a really front two. Who's good? That was a terrible idea. It was a start. We should have. Perez, when he came on, finished it brilliantly. I'm not saying he had a great game for the rest of it, but at least he showed a bit of class to actually finish it. Hernandez in the box like it was anything, not really doing anything. Andy Carroll looked just aimless and useless. We couldn't get the ball forward to them. The lineup and the start, it was wrong. Having said that, it's not solely his fault as well. Didn't give a crap. They just didn't look like they cared. There are very, very few people on that pitch who I would be happy to see play in the next game, because they just looked like they did not give two hoots about whether or not we went out or not. You said it before, most important game of the season. It's the most important game of the season because it's the only thing that we have to viably play for right now. Finishing 7th is some form of achievement, sure, but is it that big of a deal when it's like, who's the person who said everyone would do it first? Everton are terrible this year. So is it that big of a deal that we finished slightly above them? No, it's not. So we should have put our foot forward today. We should have gone at them, and yet we didn't. We made the bad choices to start the game in the way that we did, both personnel wise and attitude wise. And that's something that I don't want to say. I don't want to say, oh, Pellegrini made the players have a bad attitude, but they walked out there like they couldn't give a crap, and that's something that is unforgivable.
Right, okay, I'm going to defend Pellegrini here. Apart from Carroll, I'm not defending Carroll. Nobody wanted to see Andy Carroll start today, okay? Nobody. We've seen it at Bournemouth, it was awful, and it's just repeated itself again today against a lower league opposition, which is even more worrying, because you thought if he's going to dominate any defender in the air, it's a League One one. And I think, from my memory, won 3 headers, 2 of them were weak efforts to go. One was a decent header down to Hernandez, the guy who's scored, I think he scored 49 Premier League goals, and all 49 have come from inside the box, but he's started shooting from outside the box tonight for some reason. He obviously developed a long range shooting accuracy and training over the last 5 days that we didn't know about or something. But anyway, Pellegrini's lineup, to me, apart from Carroll, is fine. That lineup is probably just as good as we saw last season at West Ham United, okay? I think Rice needed a rest, and he's obviously got Anderson on the bench just in case things went tits up. Now, nobody predicted we'd be 2-0 down. If you looked at that first 11 today before the game, nobody would have said, oh, I think we might be 2-0 down at half-time if we're not careful. Nobody would have done it. I don't think Pellegrini's done anything wrong here. When we had Bilic, and the reason I'm going back to that is because people used to say Bilic can't motivate the players, and I always used to say it's not Bilic's job, in my opinion. If you, as a footballer, cannot motivate yourself for 90 minutes a week, then you shouldn't be a fucking footballer. It's as simple as that. You know, when Tom goes to work in the morning, when Charlie goes to work in the morning, when I go to work in the morning, if our line managers don't put their arm around us and motivate us for the day, it's not like we down tools and do fuck all, is it? No, we crack on, work and motivate ourselves just like anyone else does. So why is a footballer any different? It shouldn't be. They should not need motivated to play in the FA Cup. They should not need motivated to play for West Ham United. They should not need motivated to pick up their wage. All those things should be built in. It's part and parcel of being a footballer. So I'm never, ever going to criticise a manager for not getting his side motivated. That is on the players and the players only, in my opinion. So Pellegrini, I think he's got 10 of his 11 right. Unfortunately, Adrian decided to flap like a bird for 90 minutes. Ogbonna is playing as if one of his legs is 2 inches smaller than the other one. What's the problem with that guy's balance? Honestly, every time the ball comes in the box, he looks like he's way fall backwards when he kicks the ball or something. I don't understand it. When the circus comes to town, they might employ him because he's a fucking clown. It is unbelievable. And it's just horrendous defending to watch. I think Pellegrini, the only thing I'm going to criticise him a little bit about, I think he was a bit knee-jerk reaction with his substitutions. I think while seeing 3 at half-time is all very well and good, it does mean you've got no substitutions left for the second half. 2, perhaps, and I just think I kind of get what he was trying to do, but I wasn't convinced by it. He changed personnel about, but we still played 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is not working for the first 45 minutes. So what makes you think 4-4-2 is all of a sudden going to start working in the second half? It was a bit strange. Their players wanted it more today. That's why we have not won, in my opinion, because their players were up for it. Our players couldn't give a monkey's about it. Some players did in the second half. I thought we saw a little bit of oomph about us, but it wasn't enough. We weren't running through brick walls to try and win that fixture. I've never seen a side have so little momentum after going from 3-0 down to 3-2, and the momentum it's not there. You'd expect Wimbledon to be crumbling, a League One side, low in confidence, up against Premier League side, conceding 2. You'd expect them to crumble, but they didn't. They weren't scared of us. They were still coming at us for a 4th one. And I was sitting there thinking, what the hell is this? These guys are having a go at us, and they kept having a go at us. We should have been punishing them. Charlie said we struggle against teams that sit back. And he's right. I don't even think Wimbledon sat back that much tonight. They did in spells. But I thought as soon as they got the ball, they were coming at us in fucking numbers. And why not when you've got Ogbonna and Masuaku in defence? I'd be coming at you in numbers as well. Tom, individual players, I picked out some. You've got some to pick out, so crack away.
Yeah, obviously Adrian was disgraceful today, really. Really poor performance from him. Look, he's a bit of a character that we all sort of love. He's a bit of a cult hero. We know that. But let's face it, like I said before, but if we didn't know already that his days are numbered, they certainly are now. He'll be looking for a new club in the summer. I've got no doubt about that. Ogbonna and Masuaku, yeah, but they're players, again, that we single out every week, like you've said, as being clowns, basically. I want to give you some good performances. I really thought Fredericks played really well when he came on, and I think he made a massive difference. And I've seen something from him today that shows a bit of promise, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him sort of make that step up into playing in the league, because he's got some pace about him. He really has, and he was getting down that right-hand side. And not only that, what he was doing, and we always moan when we don't do this, he was putting low balls into the box, time and time again. How many times do we say, oh, Hernandez is in the box and you're whipping it up in the air? Well, he was putting balls into the box how we want them put in. So he was causing them trouble when he came on. So fair play to him. And Anderson, he looked different class when he came on. He really did. And I'm delighted for him. He's got his 9th goal of the season. I think that's more goals than Payet ever got in a single season. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just making a little bit of a point. But yeah, so he was good, but that was about it. And Snoddy had a better second half than he did first. But other than that, I thought everybody else, you're looking poor, really. Obiang he didn't know what he was doing in there. And that's a real worry, the fact that without Declan Rice, the whole thing in the central midfield crumbles. I'm a big Mark Noble fan, but he was also guilty of that today. He was nowhere, and they just got totally overrun. And you're right about the formation. It was quite obvious that it's probably embarrassing, really, that we need to pack the midfield against these. But it was obvious early on, we needed a third man in there, and we needed to make that change a bit quicker. And yeah, we never did.
Charlie, what about yourself? Individual performances, praise or criticise, choose your players and choose your method of opinions.
As much as I agree that there, and obviously with what I said the starting lineup should be, I agree that we needed the third man in there. The two people who are in there have the quality enough to control that game, and yet we looked like we couldn't string passes together. We looked like we couldn't control that game. If what Wimbledon looked like, they could have just sat back and we still probably would have passed the ball straight to them. And when that's a situation with two central midfielders who have the passing capabilities of those two players, that's ridiculous. Both of them have terrible performances. Obiang considerably worse than Noble, but I don't think Noble comes away smelling of roses either. I think, as you said, and as Tom just said as well, basically, I think that Fredericks, I agree with what Tom said, actually. I think he put the ball in dangerous positions. And although Antonio from right back does get into dangerous positions, he never puts the ball into those positions. He just sort of wobbles into them and then blasts it into Rosette. Fredericks was getting into those positions and then delivering crosses. Now, I don't think he had particularly much up against him, to be fair. I think in a different game that might be more difficult, but that's considerably better than what we were doing in the first half. I think outside of that, Antonio, again, got into good positions, but just couldn't do anything to save his life with the ball when he got there. And then, yeah, Anderson for scoring the goal. Apart from that, though, I'm really struggling to find anyone who deserves any form of compliment. I think Diop did much better than Ogbonna, but again, I don't think he played particularly well. It's a difficult one. It's a really, really difficult one to pick anyone who looked half decent.
I'm going to leave Diop out of this one because he was playing with two shite defenders on his left-hand side, a flappy keeper behind him, and a right winger at right back. So he's excused in my book. I don't think he was particularly awful, etc. I thought Fredericks did well when he came on. I was impressed by him. I thought Noble stepped up in the second half a little bit. Disappointed to see his lack of control in the first half, but I think he massively missed Declan Rice in there. I think he has no confidence in Pedro Obiang. I think that was visible tonight. I thought Snodgrass worked hard. I've got absolutely no problem with that. I thought Diangana worked hard as well. They were just lacking that little bit of quality, if you like, and Diangana's obviously got hold for it. Thought Hernandez was piss poor up front. Thought Andy Carroll was piss poor up front. Perez looked better than them both when they come on. This is a frustrating thing, and I'm going to come on to some news that's coming out tonight, which I believe is true because of the live chat. I'm not being able to check, and Tom and Charlie obviously won't know about it. There was an opportunity tonight for one of those strikers. We have three strikers on the pitch tonight. There's an opportunity for one of them to grab that spot against Wolves. Okay, that spot was open because of Arnautovic. Now, what's coming out tonight is on the live chat, and there's so many people saying, first I thought people were trolling us, but I think it's true going by how many it is. And they're saying that Marco Navic has actually signed a new deal, a new contract at West Ham United, and the club have put out a tweet about it. Well, that's one way to piss everyone off even more, isn't it? I mean, go out the FA Cup and then hand the guy that wasn't there tonight a new contract extension. We're not going to discuss that in this video because we don't even know if it's true for a start. But we'll do another video about that. But the players were just poor tonight. They didn't want it. The players that did want it were just lacking that quality. But listen, if Snodgrass is trying hard and working hard enough, which I think he was, there's only so much he can do when he's got Masuaku behind him and fucking Obiang next to him and Hernandez ahead of him. What's he meant to do except bend it in from 30 yards out on his own? It's a team game, and unfortunately the team didn't turn up. Listen, also, just want to say, Wimbledon fans, you listen to this, you were fantastic tonight. I speak on behalf of Charlie and Tom here as well. You've got your tactics spot on. You were brilliant. Your players were brilliant. And while I said your team only cost £53,000, what you had that we cannot purchase is you had passion, you had commitment, you had 100% effort, and you wanted it. We didn't have that. And, you know, Pellegrini and Huselos can scour the transfer market all they want. They cannot buy that. You cannot find it on the transfer market. And that's one thing we did not have tonight and Wimbledon had. And you won it 4-2 tonight, deservedly so. Anyway, we're going to start rounding this up. We've all had our rant. Tom and Charlie, thank you very much for joining us. We've been having a chat. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you have, and subscribe if you're new around here. Leave your comments below. It'll be interesting to read who you blame for this. Charlie and Tom sort of blames Pellegrini. Well, he does blame Pellegrini. Charlie sort of does. I don't really blame Pellegrini. I blame players. But anyway, it's an embarrassing night for West Ham United. That we can all agree on. We're out the FA Cup, and now our season is all about finishing in the top 10. Catch you in a bit.